Go ahead, Ate.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to FCM Live with Sherrisa Celis. And I am Sherrisa Celis, welcoming you here on FCM Live. Sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulty. I know that we're supposed to start at 8:15. It's now 8:36 or 8:37, but then the show must go on. So here we are. And I would like to introduce my very special guest for tonight. And I'm so happy and privileged to have him. Let us all welcome Mr. Trevor Lynn, a public relations professional. Good evening, Trevor.
Hi, Sherrisa. How are you?
I am well, thank you. And how about you?
I'm well, thanks.
Yes, Trevor here is a very good friend of mine. We've known each other since, I believe, 2016 or 2017, right? And he's got his honors BA in political science and master's degree in political science. And he actually worked in Ottawa for 13 years with the Speaker of the Senate. So that's the reason why he is my go-to person if I need something about politics, if I have some questions on policies or some politics here, and he's always very welcoming when it comes to answering questions, and I really thank you for that, Trevor.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so lately, actually, it was yesterday, July 24th, we just had these by-elections, and I would like to congratulate the conservative candidate, Mr. Shub Majumdar. Hi, Shub. Congratulations. You deserve to be there as a member of the parliament. So he is now the MP for Calgary Heritage. And so, Trevor, what is the importance of having this by-election?
Yeah, by-elections are really important because if a member of parliament resigns, passes away, whatever the case may be, that makes them vacate their seat, a by-election is a way to fill that spot in the House of Commons. Typically, of course, that's exceedingly important for the residents of the riding because they have their voices heard in House, in committee, and in debates. And it's
Uh-huh.
also a local way that they can access help and federal services through their MP's office. So that's why these by-elections occur, and they're important to people in Calgary Heritage or whichever riding might be involved in a by-election.
Yeah, I know that the regular federal election is not till 2025. And then now there was this vacancy that happened. The former MP, Bob Benson, resigned or retired from politics. And so he left in January. So is there any particular rule as to how long or what's the duration wherein you need to have a by-election? Will it be if there's a vacancy within a year, within 2 years, whatsoever?
Yeah, there is a rule, if I'm not mistaken, that the prime minister usually has to call it within 6 months of that vacancy occurring. And
Uh-huh.
of course, the prime ministers of the day always call it at a time that they think is probably most advantageous to themselves and their own party. So that could range anywhere from immediately after the resignation right up until the limit if that's what they choose to do.
Okay, does that mean because it is a conservative riding that it was not scheduled early enough after the resignation?
Well, I don't want to speculate on what the prime minister's reasons are, but I would imagine, Calgary Heritage is among the most safe conservative seats in the country. It's almost to the point where it's guaranteed for them. So, if you were a liberal prime minister, it's probably not at the top of your agenda to call the by-election in Calgary Heritage.
Well, yeah, historically, this is a conservative riding, and I would say, I am privileged to live in Calgary Heritage. I remember before the former Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, and he was so loved by the people here. It's very, very nice person, very generous. And then after him, followed by Bob Benson, and then now it's Shiv Majumdar. But then, how would you explain why do we have a very low turnout during the by-election, because this by-election, it's just about 28% showed up at the polls and voted. So what are the factors, or is this normal?
Yeah, it is typically normal for a by-election to have lower voter turnout, but there's a number of factors at play in Calgary Heritage that would make it particularly low. I mean, first of all, we're in the summer season where Canadians are looking to do other things and are probably not following politics as closely. It's also, let's face it, again, an exceedingly safe conservative seat. So if you're a conservative, you're pretty certain that you're going to win it. If you're a part of another party, the chances are slim. So, if the result were likely to be closer, it would motivate more people to come. But this is a safe conservative seat. The by-election occurred in the middle of the summer when people are focused on other things. And, the kind of almost foregone conclusion result just wouldn't encourage the best voter turnout.
Oh, interesting. So it is also weather dependent, if
Yeah,
I may say.
right. As we were talking about before, I think, there's a group of voters that are going to vote regardless of any other factors. And
Right.
there's arguably a little bit bigger group that might only vote in more, advantageous conditions. So the weather can play a role one way or the other, but summer is probably not the time when a lot of people are thinking about politics. The House of Commons is adjourned, so is the legislature in Edmonton. So it's not top of mind. And of course, in a by-election, you don't have the hoopla and the fun and the attention that's being paid in a general election campaign.
Yeah, but even if you say that it is not summer, so for some summertime, people are always out. They're probably out. Most of them are out of town, out of the country. But then during winter time, yes, they're home. But when it's snowing, when it's too cold, they will say, "Oh, it's too cold. I don't want to go out, so I cannot vote," and blah blah blah. So there's always a reason not to vote. But if you really want to vote, you can do it, and it only takes about five minutes at the most, 10 minutes for you to be in the polling place, right?
Yeah, it's not a long or cumbersome process. It's really easy. You show your ID, you're checked off the list, you get a ballot, you mark an X, you put it in the box. If you want to vote, you can vote in an advance poll, you can get a special ballot. I mean, Elections Canada tries to make it as easy and accessible as possible to every eligible voter. So if you want to vote, you can definitely vote very conveniently. But similarly, like if you're less motivated to get out, that's just not your thing. You could have the polls
Mm,
open 24 hours a day for 30 days and they're not going to come, right? So,
yeah. So, well, anyway, there is this one thing that I would like to ask you also. I don't know if there is a solution to it, because every time when I did call some people yesterday, and um mostly complaints, whether it is federal or provincial election, or even the municipal election. If you call, people would complain, "I am so disgusted. I'm so unhappy. I have been receiving your calls over the weekend. I'm receiving your calls so many times in a day. I receive calls and blah, blah, blah. So your candidate is very ineffective. I am so disgusted. Even if I voted, I don't want to vote again anymore," and blah, blah, blah. So is there any way that it can be minimized? Because I know that the candidates are just doing their best in order to make sure that the voters or the household is informed that there is this election or by election. But what can you do? I mean, if I am the person's being called, when I wasn't in politics yet, that was also my reaction. Oh, I got so many calls and I don't like it. I never liked it. But then when I entered politics, and I know how hard it is to get voters to go out and vote, so it's happening, right? So can you comment on this, Trevor?
Yeah, I think there is one phenomena that's a little bit more recent that's occurred, particularly after the pandemic, is that there is a larger group of voters who are, quite seriously turned off politics and may even have an extreme reaction to a candidate coming to their door or contacting them. That group is probably bigger than it was before, but that phenomena has existed certainly as long as I've ever observed politics. The good thing is nowadays the candidate has a lot more cost-effective ways to contact people. So there's always been door knocking, there's always been phoning. In the older days there were mail outs, but social media plays a bigger role now. There are better online outreach opportunities on the social media platforms, especially important when you're reaching younger voters. Our former mayor, Naheed Nenji, was known for being very effective at using these techniques to win elections. And so that kind of avoids the interruption complex associated with a call or a knock on the door. So there are some additional options available to candidates that are more cost effective. But I think to some extent, some of that can't be avoided. And, it doesn't matter which party you're from. Everyone is trying to inform voters, give them options in terms of who they can vote for and what their choices mean. They're well meaning and they're also there to help if you need to get out to the polls. So there's going to be a mix of reactions, and I think that's fairly normal.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Trevor. I already have this time's up signal. So it's 15 minutes is gone. So anyway, thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate your
welcome.
time and the knowledge that you've shared with our viewers. And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to FCM Live with Sherrisa Celis. Until next Tuesday, hoping this time at 8:15 in the evening. Thank you and salamat po. Bye for
Thank
now.
you.